So, why would he call me to say, I be talking to Porsha? I deal with Porsha.
This whole situation with K. Michelle talking to Pinky about Porsha and her ex honestly feels like one of those storylines that keeps getting bigger the more it gets discussed, even though the original issue itself is actually pretty simple. At the core of it, K. Michelle clearly feels bothered that somebody she considers a friend was involved with a man she previously dealt with and never openly mentioned it to her.
You ain't even been around for this one. I'm minding my business, and I get a call from my ex. You say you'll cook this every morning.
If you want.
Me and him talk about a lot of things. Like Caston knows we don't sleep together, none of that stuff. We're really friends. So, why would he call me to say, I be talking to Porsha? I deal with Porsha. I said, do you like her? You know, y'all should really try something. He was like, no, I don't want her. She tried to take me in public and I wouldn't go. Of course he's African. So,
of course he's African, I'm dead.
Of course he's African. All I know is that man didn't have any shoes on, and he took his bare feet and he put them on the island in my kitchen. She can have the man that don't like wearing shoes. She can have him put his feet up on Simon Count. Why not just tell me? I don't care.
Right.
That's weird to me. That's small, but it's so f***ing weird. More power to the both of y'all, but don't have me in a friend group while you pop locking and drop it on someone's sausage that I used to be with. That's not a friend. Because as a friend, I would have told you about the feet.
Cheese dating ex?
Look.
Wait, what?
I'm going to let her tell on what she's doing, because what I'm not going to do is talk on another woman's vagina. So I ain't even going in details of my conversation with him out of respect.
The problem is that every time she explains it, the situation somehow becomes more confusing and emotionally messy than it probably needs to be. What stood out immediately during this conversation is that K. Michelle still sounds emotionally attached to the situation, even while trying to act like she's simply speaking on principles and loyalty. If the situation truly meant nothing emotionally, it probably would not keep coming up repeatedly in different conversations. That's why people around her seem confused, because she keeps saying she doesn't care about the man anymore, while also continuously bringing him back into discussions involving Porsha. At the same time though, I can understand why K. Michelle feels weird about it from a friendship perspective. Once you become cool with somebody, most people naturally expect transparency about past relationships involving people within the same circle. So from her point of view, the issue is less about jealousy and more about wondering why the information was never volunteered naturally once the friendship developed. The problem is that Porsha clearly does not view the situation the same way at all. In Porsha's mind, if they were not close during the time she dealt with the man, then she probably feels like she owed absolutely no explanation about something from the past. That difference in perspective is exactly why this situation keeps turning into circular arguments, or neither side feels heard. What also makes this storyline feel messy is that K. Michelle keeps bringing the situation up in multiple settings instead of handling it once directly with Porsha and moving on. Every new conversation about the ex makes it seem less about closure and more about lingering frustration. That's why people around the group are starting to question whether the real issue is the man himself or if deeper tension already existed between K. Michelle and Porsha before this situation even came up. The conversation with Pinky also showed how divided opinions already are within the group, because some people genuinely understand K. Michelle's point, while others think the situation is being blown completely out of proportion. And honestly, both perspectives make sense depending on how somebody personally views friendship boundaries and girl code. Another thing making the situation look worse is that K. Michelle is married, which naturally causes people to question why she seems so emotionally invested in an ex-relationship at all. If somebody appears happily moved on, viewers usually expect old situations like this to feel irrelevant emotionally. That's why every time K. Michelle revisits the issue, people start wondering whether unresolved feelings still exist somewhere underneath the surface. At the same time, production clearly understands this storyline creates tension, so the scenes surrounding it are obviously being highlighted intentionally because conflict involving exes, loyalty, and hidden connections always creates reactions on Housewives. The problem is that the more the storyline continues, the more emotionally exhausted everybody involved starts looking. Porsha also benefits from the fact that she knows how to stay calmer during conversations, while the other person becomes increasingly emotional explaining themselves. That dynamic shifts perception quickly, because once K. Michelle revisits the issue, people start wondering whether unresolved feelings still exist. Michelle starts getting frustrated or emotional. People stop focusing on the actual point she's making and start focusing more on how she's reacting instead. This situation honestly feels less about one man and more about trust, transparency, and unresolved tension between these women. The ex is really just the trigger bringing deeper frustrations to the surface. And judging by how often this issue keeps resurfacing already, it definitely feels like this drama is far from over on RHOA.